The Zoom shiksa. Now, Baruch Hashem, welcome back to some of our old chavra. It's good to see all of you. We did in the Mishnah, above 20 amas, no good, right? Below 10, no good. Different reasons, guys. Different reasons. Above 20, it seemed to be a schach problem or a building problem. Again, according to Rabbi, above 20, your eye doesn't see the schach, and the main part of the sukkah is the schach. According to Rabbi Zera, if it's above 20 in a certain dimension, you're going to sit in the shadow of the walls as the sun comes in, as opposed to the shadow of the schach. You need the schach. Right? According to Rava, it's any above 20 is a diras keva. It's not a diras aroy. What about 10? What's wrong with 10? What's 10? Is anything that's 10 is not a schach problem, it's a doifim problem, guys. You don't have walls. Anything that's less than 10 tefachim is not a wall. Anything that's less than 10 tefachim is not a wall. We saw that in Masechta Shabbos. If you have something that's 10, it creates Rosh Hashanah, right? It's 10. So today we're going to try to figure out where's the source for 10. Where's the source for 10 tefachim? Where is that source? So we're beginning from Dalit Amid Beis, and we're about 4 or 5 lines from the bottom. If it's not what? If it's not 10 tefachim. Minolan. How do you know that what? It has to be 10 tefachim. Itmar. And again, if you look at the bottom Taisus, there's a son tefachim minolan, right? In this year, you don't mind when we say Taisus, right? In your shir, you used to get nervous. So here, you know if I'm doing it, it's short and sweet. It says the bottom Taisus, Asara tefachim minolan, behod be'inan nami gabi Shabbos mechitza asara mehachi alfinan. And this is the source for 10. In other words, this is in Yiddish amalgamated din. It's a universal din. We're saying a din across the board. Where do you know this from? Okay, so Itmar, Rav, Reb Chanina, Reb Yochanan, Reb Chaviva, Masni, and Bekula say the Moyed, Kol Ki Zugo, when these pairs of Amoroyim, Chalufi Reb Yochanan, switch Reb Yochanan, Uma'ale Rebbe Yonason. No, so Reb Yonason and Rav Chaviva seem to be a pair. Oron Tisha, the Kapiris Tefach, Harikana Sarah. The Oron was 9 tefachim high, and the Kaparis was 1 tefach. And what is it now? How do you know that? The Oron was, well, we say it was 1.5, right? 1.5 high. So 6 tefachim in an amma. It was 1.5 ammas high. So 6 times 1.
Rabbi, you muted yourself.
And the additional tefach was 10. So I have the Aron being 10. How does that teach me 10 tefachim is a mechitza, right? I know. Says the Gemara. Harikana Sarah. We have 10. Uksiv, and it says V'nei adati l'cha. I will make myself known l'cha sham v'dibarti itcha me'ala kapiris. Because Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, and I'll speak to you me'ala kapiris. V'tanya Reb Yossi Omer mi'olam lo yarda shchina lamata. The shchina never went below 10. V'lo olam Moshe v'lo olam Morim, and Moshe v'lo never went above. Okay, so now let's. What's the raya, guys? So Hashem tells Moshe, we know the Aron's 10, and Hashem never came below 10. Says Rashi, V'tanya me'olam lo yarda shchina lamata u'kroksiv the alakapayris yarad, that Hashem descended to the top of the Aron. Shmamina l'mayla me'asara mifsaka b'shusa. Shmamina, we see that 10 tefachim is considered a separate rishus. Now, how does it show me a wall? So good. Watch, guys. The Aron is 10. Good? 10 tefachim. Great. Hashem never came below that. So we know Hashem stayed in his rishus. Hashemayim l'Hashem, b'aretz l'bnei Adam. 2 separate rishuyos. How do we see that it's a mechitza? You see from here, what defines a mechitza is the fact that it's mafsek to a rishus. What defines a mechitza, just having a wall, a wall is defined by what it's encapsulates, what it protects, what's behind it. That's what a wall is. So memela, if it's a separate rishus, if the 10 tefachim create that separate wall. And this is the source, at least right now, as soon as you understand it, we'll change it. But right now, as soon as you understand it, it's good. So you have 10. Very geschmack. Hashem never came below 10, so I know a wall is 10. Separate Rishus, a wall separates Rishus, and you're good. Says the Gemara. Hashem Shnemar. So we know Hashem never comes below 10, and Moshe and Eliyahu never went above 10. Shnemar, Hashemayim la Hashem, V'artz l'san l'vnei Adam. Fred the Gemara of Layod, the Shechina Lamata. Hey, the Shechina never came below. V'ksiv v'yerid Hashem al Har Sinai. Hashem came to Har Sinai. So you see, he came into our world. So no l'mayla me'asar t'fachim. He always remained 10 t'fachim above. V'ksiv v'omdu raglov b'yoyim achu. It says the Asalavai guys and his feet, Kaviyach Hashem's legs, v'yom ahu al Har Hazeisim will be on Har Hazeisim. Says, it's still what? It's still above 10 tefachim. Now the opposite way. So Hashem never came down. He always is masik 10 tefachim. And Moshe and Eliyahu, they never went above. Moshe went up to get the Torah. It says, no, he was always 10 tefachim below Shemayim. He was always 10 tefachim below Shemayim. He went up in a tempest at Shemayim, some type of swirling storm, like today. Lamata me'asara, it was below 10. So whatever it was, Hashem came down, but he always meant 10 tefachim above. Moshe and Eliyahu, they always meant 10 tefachim below Shemayim. So they never separate Rishuyas. You got a bigger problem. We had guys in the Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Peches. I'll remind you of this Gemara. We've seen it many times. Moshe goes to get the Torah, says to Malachim, what's a boss doing among us? He said to come to get the Torah. Says, because we want to keep Tonu Hoitcha b'Shemayim, keep the Torah in Shemayim. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe, give him an answer. Says, Moshe, what? They're going to burn me up, the Hevel Shebet Pichem. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, grab onto my Kisei HaKavod, what? And give him what? An answer. Now, if you're holding on to the Kisei HaKavod, it's obviously what? You're not 10 tefachim away. And what's the pasuk that it was in the Kisei HaKavod? Here's the pasuk, fellas. Pasuk says, "V'ksiv me'oiches panai kisei parshes olav anano." Right? Grab on my panai kisei parshu spreading olav anano, his cloud. V'amrav tanchem alamit shepirish shakai miziv shchinasoi. Guys, look at the word parshes. It's a nutricon. It's a contraction of 3 words. Pirish shakai miziv. HaKadosh Baruch Hu went ahead and spread from his countenance. Okay? Vananu alav says the Gemara Lamata Me'asara. Lamata Me'asara, Mikomakam. Says the Gemara Me'achas Kisei Ksiv. How can you say it was below 10? Says the Gemara Ishtarvu ve'yishtarvu le'kisei adasara. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took his Kisei HaKavod from Shemayim, brought it down here, did not get there. Moshe took it. So you see, fellas, from this Gemara, there's different levels of what of Hiskalas Hashchina. The highest Kisei HaKavod is from one of the levels of Hiskalas Hashchina. Hashem Aretz Malaya. Hashem is in the world. Hashem is here. Hashem is there. Hashem is truly everywhere. He's all over the place, right? Because Baruch Hu is all over. But what it means, Lamata Me'asar, it comes down to a certain level of Hiskalas Hashchina that doesn't go below 10. I read the Gemara Kisei HaKavod. That's Moshe was by Kisei HaKavod. It's mamish. We know there are in some Pesachim. There are 507 Rekias, each one 500 years apart. It takes 500 years to walk. It's a whole ganze. And the tzaddiks there. I don't remember tzaddik base, tzaddik tal. It's all over there. Says the Gemara. The Kisei HaKavod. But the Kisei HaKavod, what? You cold? Kisei HaKavod, Hashem took the Kisei HaKavod and brought it down into his jurisdiction. He brought it down into his jurisdiction. Bottom line is we held serve, right? Why was that serve? How do we know that 10 tefachim? From the Aron. The Aron's 10 tefachim. Hashem I'll make myself known over there. Hashem remained above there. He didn't come down. May ala kapoiris, not below the kapoiris. 10 tefachim creates what? Creates a wall, and we're totally good. Okay, so right now everything's great. Now, Bishlema Arin Tishuk Siv. By Arin, it says, the Asu Arin Atse Shitin. You should make an Arin of cedar wood. Amasayim v'chetziarko, 2.5 amas should be its length. V'ama v'chetzi rachboi, 1.5 amas its width. And what we're concerned about, v'ama v'chetzi kamasai, and 1.5 amas its height. 6 times 1.5 gave us what? 9. Elo kapoiris tefach minalon. Where do you know the kapoiris is a tefach? Guys, where do you know the kaparis is a tefach? In other words, we need that one. We need that one more to make 10. Where do you know what's a tefach? The Tani Rab Chanina, Kol HaKelim Shasa Moshe, all the kelim that Moshe made, Nosna behen Torah midas archon umidas rachman. The Torah gave us dimensions. It gave us its what? Its length, and it gave us its width. Umidas kamasan, and its height. Kapoiris, the top of the aron, midas archa umidas rachman nasna. We had its length and its width was 2.5 by 1.5. However, midas kamasa loy nasna. We didn't know its height. Now we got it. We want its height to be, guys, what? 1. We want its height to be what? 1 tefach. So it's say v'lama mi pochashe b'kelim. Let's go to the least amount of the kelim, and we'll learn out a tzushtel from the least amount of the kelim as to the height of the kapyrus to go ahead and give us that 1. Shenemar v'sisa lo. It says by the shulchan. It says by the shulchan v'sisla miskeres. Make a crown tefach toifach saviv. I think that's what the Lashon is. Toifach saviv. It should be what? A tefach around. So we can learn out mala halon, just like by the miskeres of the shulchan, it was a tefach. Af kan tefach. So to here by the kapyrus, it's a tefach, which is what we need. Why don't you learn from the kli itself? In other words, learn from the shulchan, the height of the shulchan. Learn from. That's why you're going and stelzing on the toifach a little bit. Go ahead. The kelim were amos. Maybe what? It was higher than that. Says the Gemara, no. Tefasta meruba loy tefasta muat tefasta. Many times in Shas, you go for broke guys, it won't hold. You go for a little bit, it holds. Now, Rashi never explains it to the extent he explains this. Rashi, guys, listen to this lashon. When you in your mind touch tefasta muat tefasta muat tefasta. If you give too much, you don't get, right? But now, what does loy tefasta mean? Listen to this Rashi, guys. Listen to this Rashi. It's amazing. What Rashi explains, it's geschmack as anything. The fastim meruba, kol dava shemashmoi meruba umuit. Anything that it means to say meruba, it's a lot, or muit, it's a little. Into fasta es hamuit, if you take hold of the minimal, yafa to fasta, you're doing the right thing. The batzim yachile mashma, it can't be less than the minimal, guys. That's the minimal it can be. It can't be less than that. Now, and if it turns out you should have grabbed more, at that point in time, what will you do? You'll go ahead and add up. But you won't lose anything. You took the minimal, and if it turns out more, you won't lose because you took the minimal. However, you know what loitafasta means, guys? Not to near a kishakrin. You appear if you're a liar. Maybe you should have gone ahead and taken the what? Taken the little amount. The ata her base litfais, then you increase so much. You're going to lose from what's in your hand. That's what it means, loitafasta. Now, you won't hold on to what you were holding on to. Tafasta meruba, guys. If you hold too much, loitafasta, you may not be able to hold on to it because if you're only supposed to get 5 and you grabbed 8, you're going to lose 3. Mashenkin, if you grab 5 and you're supposed to get 8, you'll add on. Tafasta muatafasta, you'll retain the 5 plus. Shmak, right? I never learned it this way. Never. I'm just saying. I think it's just advice. No, I don't want. It's not one of you give me this. I just. Let's say it turns out you're a suffix. You don't know what you're supposed to get, right? So it's giving you advice. So you took 5, and let's say it turns out to be 8. I'm just giving you the fasta ma'uta. The fasta means you hold on to what you're holding on to. Alex toif hamuad hesh im yosifu toiv. Then if they add on, great. Then lav matafasta tafasta. Whatever you had, you have. Mushal it's a mushal. But you hear, guys, they had a mushal. We don't usually we just say you grab a lot. You don't focus on and the extension of that. Tefasta meruba, tefasta meruba, loy tefasta. Meaning whatever you're holding on to, you may lose. Like tefasta, you may not hold on to it. Usually, I never stelz upon it. Right? I'm saying you just Rashi here explains it beautifully. Questions good, everyone's great. Good? Very good. Okay, so right now, where are we holding? We're holding 10. The Oren guys 1.5 times 6 is 9. We're sustelling what? The kapyrus to the miskeres of the shulchan. And why we chapsich that? Because that is apparently the most minimal amount of share we can find. Good. We that's the tefach is the most minimal. Now, what happens if I can find less of a share? Better go for less of a share, right? So that's what the Gemara is going to do right now. Read the Gemara. The Neilif meat sits. Why don't you learn out the kapiris from the tzitz? The Tanya tzitz. The tzitz was the piece of gold that the Kohen Gadol wore on his forehead. Tzitz doime kimin tas shel zahav. It was like a tas of zahav. The rochav beis etzba'os, and it was 2 etzba'os, which is a half a tefach. There are 4 etzba'os, fellas. There are 4 etzba'os in a tefach. So this would be half. So in other words, you'd only have 9.5. You wouldn't have 10. You're telling me a rule to fasta ma'uta to fasta, and you're telling me the minimal is what? Is a tefach from the miskeres. Learn from the tzitz, and you'll get even a smaller share. You'll get a half. You get a half a tefach. 2 etzba'os, a half a tefach. Umukif mi oizen la'oizen, and went from oizen la'oizen. The kosev alav base shitin. On it was written 2 shitin. Yud K milmaila, the kodesh l'Hashem milmata. Now we had this in Masechta Shabbos. Exactly what was written is machlokes. Was it 2 lines? Was it 1 line? Or was it l'Hashem on top and kodesh l'Hashem on the bottom? Yud K on top. Yud K vav K. By the way, the top toasters, guys. Yud K milmaila, afal pishe Yud K shem gamahu. Right, even though Yud K is the name of Hashem, ein ze choiga sham ba'oisias. That's you don't spell it out. In maskia shtei oisias. You know, you're not even spell out Yud K vav K, guys. That's why we say Yud K vav K. Now you're not to say it out. So he's asking, since it's part of it, it's not a full shame. You could say it, but this is where the source for saying Yud K vav K comes from. Okay, so now the Omer Reb Elazar Bar Yosi. Ani re'isi beroimi. I saw it in Rome because of a love kodesh l'Hashem b'shita achas. Now we met Rabbi Yosi earlier, guys, in Daf Nun Gimel. On Daf Nun Gimel, you remember we met him? I'm going to remind you. We had a question when you spritz the blood in front of the proiches. Spritz in front or on the proiches itself. So Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yosi, fellas, he had saved the Caesar's daughter. Saved the Caesar's daughter, and as a result, the Caesar said, "I'll give you whatever you want." He said he wanted to get to see, the artifacts. He got in there, he saw the proiches, and he said he saw the dam on the proiches. Good? Now, let me ask you a question. So if the Rambam brings down this halacha, what should it say? What would you say? The Rambam brings down this halacha, what would you say? The Rambam paskins all halacha, right? So the Rambam has to paskin on the tzitz. Well, for this Gemara, what would you think it would say? 1 line or 2 lines? What would you pass it?
1 line.
One.
1 line. 2? Well, 2. Well, listen to this. Here's the Lashon of the Rambam. Perik Tes Halacha Aleph. Zelashana. Kate said Maisa tzitz. Exactly how was the tzitz? Oisa Tashel Zav. They made a little strip of gold. Rochav Shtei Etzbois. It was 2 etzbois wide. Umakif me oisin la'oisin. It went from one ear to the other. The Kosev of Law Shnei Shitin. And it's written on it 2 shitin, kodesh l'Hashem, kodesh milmata, and l'Hashem milmaila. The kodesh milmata and l'Hashem above. In kosfu b'shita achas, kasha. And if you write it on 1 line, it's kasha. Upamayim kosfu b'shita achas, and sometimes they wrote it b'shita achas. The Rambam was dancing at 2 chasanas, guys. The Rambam was dancing at 2 chasanas. He paskin vat like the view of the. He passed like the view of the Chachamim. He passed like the view of the Chachamim. But now you being a Meiser, Rosar and Yosi. So he says Pamayim. So Yoitze v'di'evet. So you see the way the Rambam got it from this Gemara. It's very interesting. You would think that machlokes, but here you had mitzias, right? It's machlokes and mitzias. The guy's learning mitzias, and you say you always have to learn. Learning is very important. You always got Asher Usham. Whatever they had Asher Usham. Whatever it is, it is. In other words. Once upon a time, you would have seen tefillin. We know who we paskin like Rashi or Rabbeinu Tam, right? We would have known. But again, Shasham now. So a guy will tell you, I found a pair of tefillin. It looked like Rashi's. It's still paskin like Rabbeinu Tam. Asher Usham. That's what you see now. This Gemara like that. This Gemara like that. Okay. Anyway, so right now we have a kasha, guys. What's that kasha? Why did you learn kapoiris from the miskeres of the shulchan? Why didn't you learn it from the tzitz, which would have been what? Half of that. It would be 9.5 instead of 10. Says the Gemara, don and kli make kli, I'm going to judge kli. The kapiris is a kli from the misgeres, which is a kli. The ein done in kli may tachshit, and we don't learn a kli from a tachshit because what is the what? What is the nezra kodesh? What is the tzitz? It's a tachshit. It's a Rashi says it's not a. Even though we say they're shmoina begodim, Rashi says it's a malbush. Rashi wants to tell you why is it not a kli? Because it's a malbush. It's a piece of clothing. Now, the Omamar, v'nelef mizer. So learn from the zer. The zer was a crown. The Omamar, zer mashahu. Zer was a mashahu. Now there was a zer around the aroin. There was a zer around the shulchan. Right? So why don't you learn from the zer? You know, once you told me you rule to fast and move with fasta, go to the most minimal. Go to the most minimal. It says, done in kli me kli. I'm going to learn that kli from a kli, being done in kli me hechsha kli. And I'm not going to learn that kli me hechsha kli. In other words, the zer is like an ornament. It's like a ancillary part, but it's not a full-fledged what. It's not a full-fledged what kli. Okay, so let's go to your phones. I'll show you something nice. And on your phone, Steve downloaded you should have the Pirush Chai. I don't know if that's the case. I bought this for you. Okay, picture 65, guys. Picture 65. You see it? It says Hey Amid Aleph. Picture 65. So if you look at the top picture, this is the way we learn things. Well, about learning. Miskeres is milmata. It's below the shulchan. In other words, it's part of the table. It's supporting the shulchan. View the shulchan, guys, as the top of the table, and if the miskeres is underneath, attached to the legs, it's supporting it. You got it? What happens? Picture 66. If it's lemaila, if the miskeres is lemaila, then it would only be ornamental. It's not really intrinsically part. It's not holding up the shulchan. It's just what part of it. So the Gemara is going to ask, "Hanicha, this teretz is good according to picture 65, because then it's what it is kli mikli. You're learning out the kapiris from the shulchan. But if it's ornamental, if it's lamaila, it's no different than zer, right?" Says the Gemara inside. Says the Gemara inside. When elef mizer, domamar zer mashu, don klime klibe, don klime hechsha kli. Ihachi miskeres nami hechsha klihu. Says the Gemara, and for the Gemara, no. Misgarta lemata hoisa. The misgarta was below, so it's part of the kli that supported the shulchan. Fred Mahani Chlamandi misgarta lemata. Very good. Kontandium says the misgarta was lemata hoisa. Elamandium misgarta lemaila hoisa. My ikla meima. Then it's no different than a zer. It's just ornamental. It says Gemara, Hayachaklihu, Ella, you're right, Lashon Charata, Donin Dover Shenasna Batoira Midas, Midava Shenasna Batoira Midas, Vayochichu, and sits, he brings in the sits again, Vizer, Shlenasna Batoira Midas. Now, what's the zer? We don't know, it doesn't say an amount. The zer, it doesn't say an amount, guys. It doesn't say an amount. By the zer, it doesn't say an amount. By the sits, why do we say that sits is? We said that sits is. I gotta mute this. Okay, someone was unmuted. The sits, yeah. The sits we said was 2 tefachim wide, not 2 tefachim, 2 etzbois wide, half a tefach wide, right? It doesn't say that. Where'd they get that from? Look at the bottom of Taisvis. Vayochiach sits v'zer shleinas l'matar midas v'hoda amar la'el. It sits rochav shtei boys. So you see what? It did have a share. And for the Gemara, ein ze ele midrabanan. That was only midrabanan. That wasn't the rice, it was only midrabanan. Good? It was only midrabanan. So right now, let's we're holding. The Aron, guys, we know is 9, 1.5 times 6. We know the kapiris is 1 because we're comparing it what to the misgeres. We're comparing what to the misgeres. Good? And why? Because we have a share for the miskeres, and we don't have a share for the tzitz, and we don't have a share for the zer. And we're holding right now. We're holding good. No questions as of yet. Rav Huna Amar Mehacha says Rav Huna, I'll tell you where you know it from. It says Al Pnei Akapiris Kedma. Guys, we just had this. We took the blood of the par and you spritzed it what? To the east. Al Pnei Akapiris, the face of the Kapiris Kedma, to the east. Vein Ponim Pachas Mitefach. What knows, we're calling it what? A Pnei. We're calling it with Kapiris, guys. We're saying Pnei Kapiris. A Pnei, a face, is a Tefach. So therefore, that's how he knows. So he's taka learning the same way are 9 and 10. 1.5 times 6 is 9, and the kaparis is 10. But he's not learning out that one tefach the kaparis from the miskeres of the shulchan. He's learning it out from the fact that you spits the blood al pnei kaparis, and kaparis pnei means what? A tefach. Maybe it's like the ape de bar yuchni. We just had this in. You probably remember. We had this in Yuma when we spoke about a beitza. We said the share of a chicken egg. We said, how do you know it's a chicken egg? Maybe it's the egg of this big bird, right? Daf pei. The divrei yuchni says, "I want to fast the meruba like to fast." Why are you jumping ahead? You're going to jump. I got a face, the face of a human being. Why am I going to jump to this huge thing? Don't jump there. Fast the meruba to fasta. Maybe the face of what, of a small bird. And this the Gemara accepts as a valid question. So where do you know, in fact, that Pnei is a tefach? So Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Rav Huna Pnei Gomer. Rav Huna learns al Pnei HaKapiris, that you're learning on tefach. He learns a Gzer Shava Pnei. Ksiv Hacha, it says over here al Pnei HaKapiris. Ksiv Hasam, it says Miyes Pnei Yitzchak Aviv. And the face of a human being is a tefach. Good. So the Mela. If he's going to learn out the face of a human being, so very good. So now let's go. What do we have so far? We have one mission. We began today. We haven't deviated. Who's there? Great. Why do we start off? We want to know, how do you know a mechitza is 10 tefachim? How do you know? So we said HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not come below 10. He not come below al pnei kapiris. We knew that's 10 because the arum is 9 and the kapiris is 10. How you knew the kapiris is tefach? We have a machlokes. One learns it from what? From the miskeres, learns it what? From the tzushtel to the shulchan, and one learns it from the kaparis itself, where it says pnei kaparis. And we know pnei as a human being is a tefach. Pnei Yitzchak Aviv is a human being, is a tefach. So to pnei kaparis is a tefach. So we're holding good. Let's learn the face of above. So again, the machlokes achronim is mean the kaviyach, the face of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, or kaviyach, the face of Malach. Either one, and either one is going to be bigger than what? Than a tefach. Either one's going to be bigger than a tefach. It says no to fasta meruba like to fasta for the third time, the same teretz. Fred Gemara v'neilach mikruv. Let's learn it out from the cherub. Let's learn it out from a kruv. What does it say about a kruv? Right? Dichsiv el akapiris yiyeh pnei akaruvim. It says ala kapiris yiyeh pnei akruvim, on the kapiris with the faces of the kruvim. Now the assumption is, guys, that the kruv's face is less than 1. And using our rule of thumb of tefasta tefasta, then given our druthers, we should learn out from the kruv rather than what? A person. And we see pnei akruvim that it's considered a pnei. So Rabbi Acha bar Yaakov, Gemiri, we have a Messiah, ain't pnei kruvim pchusim mitefach. There's no pnei kruvim less than a tefach. So in other words, it's the same size. Rav Huna nami mehachagam, and Rav Huna takmon from there and not from Yitzchak. Umay kruv, what's the lashon of kruv? Amravo keravya. It's like a child. Shechem bevavel currently yinuka ravya. So very geschmacka. So right now, same teretz. 9 the arin, 1 the kapiris, either from the miskeres or what from the kruv. I just think it's very interesting. We have a chumash here. Okay. Anyway, they have in Bereshis. In Bereshis, you have very interesting. We think of kruv and we think of the trubes, right? We think of how close, and when there was shalom, they were facing each other. When there wasn't shalom, they weren't facing each other. We saw the time that they came in. The Romans came in. They were facing each other to show their love, even b'shas the destruction. We asked the kasha, there was no Aron, the second bias. How could the Romans have seen that? We said they were on the walls. They peeled them off the walls, just to remember some of the things we saw. The first time you have Kruvim the Torah, guys, is not. It's not so pashut. What the Kruvim are? Listen. What? Yeah, it says over here, when Adam and Chava sinned, right? Adam and Chava sinned. Right? What does it say? He threw him out. And the flaming sword. Now it says he put over here Kruvim. So it says Rashi, Kruvim, Malachei Chavala, angels of destruction. So what happened? We have these little troops, the little beautiful faces, right? Faces of babies, Karavi like a child. And here in Bereshis, Malachei Chavala is the last thing on earth you ever want to run into is a Malachei Chavala. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives it the title Angels of Destruction, I don't want to see it ever. Good? Sister, Rav Yaakov Zatzal said over in the same his Rebbe, the Alta of Slapotka, beautiful thing. It always depends where you're located. Where were the crew from located on the Aron? On top of the Torah. When you have Torah, when you live in Torah, then you're like a beautiful little child. If you're away from Torah, right? You're thrown out of Gan Eden, you're away from Torah. You know what a crew can be? Malachei Chavala. It's a Gavaldig word. It's a Gavaldig word. It's a Gavaldig word. Yeah. Amalei Abaya, Elamiyata. You're telling me that what these kruvim are a tefach. The chsiv pnei by Yecheskel pnei echad pnei kruv. Face of one of them is the face of a kruv. Upnei sheni pnei adam. So hainu kruv hainu adam. What are you telling me? They're both a tefach, right? So what are you telling me? Says the word no. Api ravriv api suchi. You got one big face and one what and one small face. Fred the Gemara. Guys, this is a Gavaldic Akash. When we speak about 10, are we speaking 10 from the floor to the schach or 10 into the funais? We're speaking 10 to the schach. Just like 20 is to the schach. No, we're speaking about ear space. We're speaking about ear space. So now, over here, this 10 is outside. It's not the inside of the aron, it's the aron plus the outside. If you'd measure from the bottom of the aron till the top of the papyrus, you're getting 10. By the sukkah, we're counting 10 from inside. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, what do you say? Why don't you say it's with the schach? Right? It's because of this question that everything you just understood now, guys, is gone.
I don't get the question. Hashem was standing on top of the thing. So the top is the outside. Right. So that's the top is the inside. It's like the wall. It's like the inside of it.
Hashem was above that. He was above 10.
Right, above 10. So inside.
No. He's above the outside. He's not inside the thing. He's above it. He's above the aron. He's above the aron.
Right, but
I know I'm right. He's above the aron. He's above the aron. So in other words, your dimensions, Shrag, you're going to figure out is discussing the outside. We, with the sukkah, are in the inside. Hashem is above over here. It doesn't. I don't hear your question at all. I'm sorry. Okay, so now, he said. Let's say it's what? It's with the what? With the schach. Yeah? No. Ella made beis elamim. Ella, guys, lashon charot, the dead end. Where are you going to learn it out from? You're not learning it out from the dimensions of the aron. You're going to learn it out from a different way. Ella made beis elamim. You can learn it from the Beis Hamikdash. Go on. Dichsiv. V'abayis asher bonu hamelach Shlomo, the house that Shlomo built. LaHashem, Shishim Ama Archai, 60 amas long, V'esem Rachbai, 20 amas wide, and here's what we need, Ushloishim Ama Kamasai, and 30 amas high. Good? So it's 30 amas high. Ukasiv, Koimis HaKruv. Now, guys, Shlomo built, besides the Aron, he put on the side, he put Kruvim. You know, he put the Kruvim, right? So now these kruvim that he made them, each one was 10 amas. The height of one of the kruvim was esa ba'ama. So now, what's the relationship between guys? The height of the kruvim and the height of the Beis Hamikdash is 3-1. It's 30 amas high, and the kruv was 10 amas high, right? So 3-1 is the ratio. 3-1 is the ratio. Now, we find them at third up. Mishkanami kruvim b'shlis habayis ein oimdim. They also were a third up. So in other words, so now we have the same 3-1 ratio that existed by the Beis Hamikdash existed by the Mishkan. Good. Now, Mishkan Kamahave, what was the height of the Mishkan? Eser Amos. The height of the Mishkan's guys was 10 Amos. Dichsiv, Eser Amos Oirech Akeresh. The height of the board was 10 Amos. Kamahave Lahu. Now, if you're going to go ahead and put Amos into Tfachim, how many Tfachim? We know 6, right? 6 times 1.5 is 9. So 6 times what? 6 what? So 6 times 10 Amos is going to be 60 Pushchi. Pushchi is Tfachim in Aramaic. So you can get 60. Now, what's our relationship, fellas? We have a 3-1 ratio. Good. So now, Tilsa Kamahave, a third of that is Esrim Pushchi, is 20 what? 20 Tfachim. Dal Asar the Oren, the Kapairis. If you take away the 10 of the Oren and the Kapairis, so Pashalahu Asara, it says what? 10. We have 10 above. In other words, you had 10 from the bottom and an additional 10. And that was a third of to the 60. Right? Third to 60. Here's the key, guys. Here's the key word. They were soichachin with their kanfeim on the kapairis. Kari rachmanis sechacha l'mayla me'asara. The Torah calls schach a covering above 10. I think we have pictures of this. Okay. So this pictures will be better than me. What? Oh, so you're okay. Smart schmatz too. Good look at schmatz. Okay, guys. Picture 72. Okay, picture 72. Here you go. It says Asara the Arim v'Kapairis. So now you have the Arim. You know that the Arim's going to be the Arim's going to be a third of the way up is going to be 20, correct? Because it's 60 tfachim. 10 amas is 20. Is 20 is 10 amas is 10 amas is going to be 60, right? 10 times 6 is 60. So now you're going to go ahead and a third of that, 3-1, 10 to 10, right? 10 to 2, right? So now the Aron itself is 10, and it says the Kruvim were Porsim Kanafayim Lamaila. They were spreading theirs above 10. They were spreading theirs above 10. Now, that's if they're above the 10. How do you know they were above the 10? The Gemara is going to ask, maybe they were exactly by the 10 and it's less than 10. In other words, if their hands are like this above Porsim Kanafayim, so they're above 10. If their hands are like this, then it's exactly 10. So Fred the Gemara Kasha. Fred the Gemara Mimai de Fayu. Ilave Reisha Kaimi. How do you know that their wings were above their shoulders? Picture 72. How do you know they were above their shoulders? How do you know they were above their shoulders in picture 72, right? Maybe they weren't above their shoulders. Right? Maybe they weren't above their shoulders. Dilma lahade reshi kaime. Maybe they were by their heads. And therefore, what? It's not exactly 10. So Amar Rav Acha by Yaakov l'mayla ksiv. It says l'mayla above. The ema the midlay tuva. Maybe so. It's much higher than 10. Once they're above their shoulders, maybe what? They're above. It says mikasiv l'mayla, right? L'mayla. It doesn't say l'mayla l'mayla. It's just l'mayla. So we go the minimal amount. We go the minimum amount. Okay, so now. You have no more. Okay, guys. We learned in Masechta Eruvin, Machlokes between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda. When measuring the kalim of the Beis Hamikdash, what was the tefach used? Was it 6 or was it 5? Reb Yehuda said 6, and all the dimensions now we said it was 6. Good. Now we know from the bottom of the Aron, the third way up is 20 tefachim, right? You have 20 tefachim. It's a third. Good. So watch. Loit Rebbe Yehuda that the share of the kalim is 5. 5 times 1.5 is 7.5. Plus 1 for the kapiris is 8.5. So maybe it's not 10, maybe it's 11.5. 11.5 plus 8.5 is 20. Where our dimensions are right, we got 10 and 10, and therefore the Seichen L'mayla of 10. And therefore we know that what the schach is above 10. Fred the Gemara, that works out well according to the mathematics of a 6 tefach to an amma. What happens if you have 5 tefachim to an amma? So let's do the math. 1.5 high, we know that the Aron was 1.5 high. 1.5 times 5 is 7.5. Plus 1 tefach for what? For the kaparis will give you 8.5. 20 minus 8.5. I know it's going to be they're above 20, right? At 20, 20 but minus 8 is 11.5. So what do you say? Like what? Rabbi, this works out well according to Reb Meir, but like Rabbi Yehuda, who says that what? That it was 5. Maybe it can be you need 11.5, not 10. Fred the Gemara Kasha. This mathematics works out very well according to Reb Meir. All the amis were of 6. El Rabbi Yehuda, who says it was 5. The Amar Amishal Binyan Shisha Tfachim. The Amah of the Bilam was Shishim Tfachim. Therefore, it was 60 Tfachim high. Shel Kalim Chamisha, but the Kalim were 5. Ma'ikal and Meimar says Gemara. Arma Kaparis Kama Havi Lahu Timnayu Palga. You're going to get 8.5 guys, right? 5 times 1.5 plus 1. Pashalahu. What are you going to have left over to get to 20? Chad Sarya Palga 11.5. Ema Sukkah Adahavi Chad Sarya Palga. The sukkah not to 10, it has to be at least 11.5 tvachim. Ela Rabbi Yehuda hilchsa gemiri law. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you have to say it's halacha l'mashmi Sinai. It's not minalan, it's a Mesorah. Dam Rav Chia Barashi Amarav Shiurim. We've had this quite a few times. Shiurim, the halachas of Shiurim, chatzitzin of chatzitza umechitzin, and that's what we need. The halachas of mechitza, halacha l'mashmi Sinai. The halachas of Shiurim. And tomorrow we're going to question this. Okay, but thanks everyone. Before anyone goes, I'd like to get a count tomorrow.